Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on homemade yogurt without a yogurt machine. I'm Jenna Edwards, your cooking companion, and I'm contemplating a new show for Cooking Companion TV. Things like homemade yogurt, like foods or condiments that you usually buy in the store, but that can be made at home. I already have a few things like this on the channel, like homemade mayonnaise and the pickled onions. So give me a comment and let me know what you think about the idea, or if I should just stick to basic recipe demonstrations. It's up to you. All right, let's talk about homemade yogurt. I, first of all, don't like store-bought yogurt except for one brand, White Mustache. It's a very small batch product made in Brooklyn, and it markets itself as Persian yogurt, which got me exploring the difference between Greek and Persian. And there is none. Each culture has its own version of yogurt, and they each have a strained or a dripped version, which we know as Greek, but the Greeks certainly are not the only ones making thick yogurt. Now, the process I'm using to make this yogurt comes from a Bon Appetit article on the founder of White Mustache and her process. So I pieced it together from some other resources, and this homemade yogurt is easy to make, but difficult to perfect. Each time I make it, it comes out a little different, but the texture and the ability to customize the tartness to my liking makes it all worthwhile. The entire process can take up to 26 hours. It's a lot of leaving it alone to do its thing. Now, to get started, you'll need the best quality milk you can find. I go for organic, non-homogenized, whole fat milk. And you'll need a probiotic starter. Now, you can buy the bacteria, or you can use a few tablespoons of store-bought plain yogurt. Just make sure in the ingredient section that it has no added sugar and live cultures. They have to be live to work. You can use regular yogurt, but Greek yogurt gives a more tart result. So we'll start by slowly heating the milk on the stovetop. Use a low-medium heat, so set your dial to medium and then a touch lower. As it heats, you'll notice a slight movement in the milk and then a skin forming on top, and just leave it there. Basically, don't touch it for 45 minutes. It should take about 45 minutes for the milk to reach the point we're going for. Now, some recipes will say to reach 180 degrees, but I just wait for the milk to nearly bubble over the edge of the pot. The slower the milk reaches this point, the more velvety your yogurt. So this is the point where I turn off the heat and I start pulling back the skin. About this time, I'll also turn on my stove to its lowest heat setting, which for me is 170 degrees. So we're going to let the milk cool until the tip of your pinky finger can stay in the milk for 3 seconds without burning. Other recipes will say the milk should cool to about 105 or 115 degrees. When I pull the skin back every 10 minutes or so, it takes about an hour for my pinky to be able to not burn in the milk. Now it's time to mix in the probiotic, or the yogurt starter. Now, for half a gallon of milk, 4 to 5 tablespoons of yogurt work for me. I usually save some of my yogurt from a previous batch and I freeze it. It should be good for a couple months like that, so stir in a little hot milk with the yogurt. Now I'll transfer everything to a bowl or storage container that holds heat well. We want to create an environment that holds a low level of heat for the bacteria to feed and grow, but we don't want the milk to cook anymore, because that'll pretty much kill the bacteria and defeat our entire purpose. So use a ceramic or even a glass bowl. I use my enamel-coated aluminum stock pot for this part. And now just find a warm place in your home or use a warm oven. The ultra-traditional way of making the yogurt is to coddle your container with a blanket. So literally covering the container and then wrapping it with a blanket and leaving it in a warm spot in the house, like in front of a heater, for 8 to 10 hours. Or you can just use a warm stove and leave the light on. Your yogurt should get as much sleep as you do. So I usually try to time this so that I go to bed right after I move the yogurt to the oven, and when I wake up, it's ready for the next step. The next step is we pull it out of the oven, and it should smell like yogurt. And the yogurt should pull away from the side of your bowl like this. See how it pulls away, but it has its own body? Now, this part is really fun. It's like waking up on Christmas morning to see what surprises await you. Now, this part is one of the places you can customize to your liking. 10 to 12 hours of sitting overnight gives me a little tartness. The longer I leave it, the more tart it gets. The shorter I leave it, the more mild it is, but it does need at least 8 hours to fully set. You'll just have to experiment and find what you like. And then there's the stuff on top. It's the cream, which is great, but it's also a little lumpy, almost grainy, so I usually scoop it off because I like a very smooth, velvety yogurt. And if you stir it in, it's fine. You'll have little lumps that don't smooth out when you stir it, and it's no big deal. But at this point, you'll move it to the fridge to stop the bacteria from growing, but to continue setting the yogurt. So let it set some more while you go about your day. It's fine to eat it at this point if you can't control yourself, but after 12 hours or so, you can strain it to make thick yogurt, what we know as Greek yogurt. To strain, set a colander over a bowl and line it with a double layer of cheesecloth. Pour in the yogurt and let the liquid whey drip out overnight. The Bon Appetit article mentions setting a plate on top of the yogurt while it drips overnight. Frankly, I usually forget that part, but I do believe it's helpful. I usually end up with perfectly thick yogurt just on the outer edges and then this liquidy yogurt in the middle part. I've tried stirring it around while it's strained so it's all thick. And I've even tried separating the yogurt to drip into 2 batches so it's more shallow, and theoretically it drains better, but most likely using a plate for a little bit of weight to push it all down is the most effective way. So let it drain on its own for another 10 to 12 hours, and you should have luxuriously thick yogurt in the morning. So I transfer it to a little storage container, and I even keep the liquid whey. This stuff is equally exciting as the yogurt itself. Liquid whey is the original probiotic drink. It's 0 calories with tons of protein and calcium. They call it nature's Gatorade. Now, I drink it straight from the jar right before working out. It can be used in cooking, like any place you'd use water. It gives a slight tart flavor because it tastes exactly like yogurt, but the consistency is like thick water. There's also always a little bit of very thin yogurt that drips through. Again, it's good for drinking or adding to smoothies or soups. Now, liquid whey can also be used to brine a turkey. Now that you have your gorgeous yogurt, you can make superb dips or dressings or enjoy it plain. My favorite way is to eat it with cherry preserves. All right, guys, tell me what you're doing with your yogurt. I'm here to answer questions as I can, or even provide more resources to help you troubleshoot your whole experience. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'm Jenna Edwards, your cooking companion.